Welcome back to JNS Daily Drives, everyone. My name is Jacob, and today we're going to be taking a look at this BMW E90 M3. Now this is a 2008 BMW M3. In today's video, we're going to go over the exterior as well as the unique interior, talk a little bit about what's powering this car, and see what it's like to drive. Let's get started. So I want to start with the front end of the BMW M3. In 2008, the BMW M3 had a very aggressive look. We have two massive air intakes on both sides of the lower grille part. We also have a massive intake in the middle. Classic kidney grills, which add to the cooling of this car. And again, two more vents located on either side of the hood bulge to help with even more cooling. BMW wanted to make sure that this car did not overheat with this big engine. Rear end of the BMW M3 is probably my favorite of the three sports sedans that I've reviewed, the C63, the RS4, and the M3. The M3 is understated. It also has aggressive little touches to make sure that people know that this is an M car. We have a beautiful ductlip spoiler up top here. We have the very unique to BMW's 4-tip exhaust located kind of in the middle, offset from the outsides a little bit. It looks awesome and it sounds pretty good as well. Let's go ahead, we'll talk a little bit about the trunk space of this BMW M3. The rear seats do fold down to give you extra cargo space, but let's go ahead, we'll take a look. Easily fit my drone case in here. If I push it back all the way, I'd say that the trunk space is even greater than that of the C63, but we'll let the numbers do the talking. So located right here is with the seats folded up, and right here is with the seats folded down. In terms of legroom, the legroom is much greater than that in the Mercedes-Benz C63. I have a 6'2" driver sitting in front of me, and I'm 6'2" myself. I still have a little bit of knee room, which is pretty freaking awesome if you think that this is a smaller sedan. Headroom is a little bit tight. The C63 wins there, but not by a whole lot. Overall, it's a nice place to sit. Now that we've talked a little bit about the exterior of the E90 M3, let's go ahead and talk about what's powering it. Now that is the number one most important thing about the E90 and E92 M3, is its engine. So this is the only BMW M3 ever made to be fitted with a V8. Now that's a 4-liter naturally aspirated V8 producing 420 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. It's a very high revving engine, not a whole bunch of low down grunt. Let's go ahead and take a look. The most legendary engines in BMW's line, along with the E60 M5's V10, this car is some serious fun. Let's go ahead and hear how it sounds. Now that we've heard how the engine sounds, let's go to the back and get a mean exhaust clip. So now that we've heard how the engine sounds, gone that mean exhaust clip, overall gone over the exterior of the car, there's nothing left to do but go for a drive. Before we go on with the rest of this review, I want to say a special thank you to Norm and the rest of the guys over at International MOTORCARS. They're the ones who provided this E90 M3 for me, so special shout out to them. Linked in the description below is their website, along with the link to this exact car, which is for sale right now. You should go buy it. So now that I'm inside and I'm driving the E90 BMW M3. Now like I said, this is a 2008 model BMW M3. It has a 4-liter naturally aspirated V8, like I mentioned, with 420 horsepower and 295 pound-feet of torque. And that's all mated to either a 6-speed manual or, in this case, a 7-speed dual-clutch transmission, a DCT. I think we should see what all the fuss is about. Lots of power when you get really high in the RPM. Because this car only has 295 pound-feet of torque, it doesn't have a lot of pull from the get-go. But once you get higher in the RPM, the thing absolutely rips. That was in regular mode, you know, had power on, but hit that M drive mode, now we're in full beans. Wow, the transmission is so smooth and so quick. Wow, there's like absolutely zero loss in power in those downshift blips. Oof. The transmission is so quick, and because it has 6 different settings for how fast you want it to shift, you can program it just to your liking. So if I go down into the very first one, I'll downshift. It's not instantaneous like that. It's not quick, it's not fast, but it's smooth. Whereas if I put it all the way in 5 right now, the downshifts are quick. The transmission is very unique. Because it's a DCT and because you have control over the shift speed, it makes it easy to play around with and easy to decide exactly what you want. So quick. The manual, I think, would be a little bit more fun than the DCT, but the DCT is a fantastic transmission. Whereas the MCT in the C63 is a little bit slow and a little bit sluggish, this thing is absolutely ridiculously fast. The nice thing about this car is you can drive it civilized. Because it doesn't have a whole lot of torque, it's not going to try and kill you right from the get-go. Whereas with the C63, it had 443 pound-feet of torque. So even light gas, you're going to spin the tires. Whereas in this car, you can drive it like a civilized human being. It's a really easy car to drive. It's incredibly comfortable. If I have the EDC in the softest setting, the ride is very compliant. Even in the sportiest, it's firm, but it's still, these seats are so comfortable. They have enough bolstering without being too aggressive on you, which is a very nice thing about this car. In terms of how it drives as an everyday car, it's extremely easy. Like I said, if I turn off the M button, if I turn the power mode off, if I put it into drive mode, it drives like every other car. It shifts at the lowest points to save fuel. And it's just an overall a very nice place to sit. And because it's a BMW, it's really easy to drive. It's very smooth. It's very smooth, very easy. But as soon as I turn everything on by pushing the M button again, it goes back into manual for me. Transmission is lightning fast. So now I'm coming up on some corners where I can begin to talk a little bit about how this car handles. Now, BMWs are known as the ultimate driving machine. Let's see if that has any merit. Oh, wonderful turn-in. The steering is absolutely wonderful. It's nice and tight, but not too tight where you're, working the wheel. It just feels absolutely perfect when you're coming around those corners. I like this car. I like this car a lot. Now I'm going to throw it back over into drive and talk a little bit about the efficiency, the safety about this car, and how it feels on the interior. So let's start from the beginning with the fuel economy. So based on how we've been driving, we've been averaging 13.6 liters per 100 kilometer. And with a 4-liter V8, that's actually not as bad as I was expecting. I was expecting 15, 16, maybe even 17 liters per 100 kilometer. It just shows that when you put this car into drive, you have everything turned down as low as it can go. It's very efficient, and it uses the least amount of power possible for any given situation, so that you don't have to go to the gas station as much. Now let's talk a little bit about the safety features, which this car doesn't really have any. Because it's an older car, you don't expect it to have all of the safety tech that a lot of the newer cars have. It has cruise control, and that's kind of where it ends. It does have rear and front parking sensors, but that's about it. You don't get a whole lot of the safety tech in these older cars, and I think that's okay. In a car like this, it would be nice to have all that safety tech, but at the same time, you want it to feel raw. That's all what the E90 and E92 M3s were all about, is feeling like the most pure form of BMW driving, and they've absolutely nailed that. In terms of the interior, it's classic BMW 3 Series. Things have not changed from the new ones to the old one. It's the same kind of layout in the middle. We have the nice carbon fiber trim on this BMW M3, and we have these absolutely beautiful orange reddish seats, which I think add to the character of this car. It's very unique color combo, having black with white wheels and a red interior. Everything else though feels really nice to the touch. The plastics, yeah, no, there's a lot of plastics, but they do feel like they were put together incredibly well. We have the M shift knob, which is not my favorite. I wish it was easier to use. It's confusing. The steering wheel is wonderful, just like the RS4 and the C63. The steering wheel is absolutely perfect. They've nailed it. It's thick, it's girthy, and it feels nice in your hands. And my shift lights, which is kind of cool if you can see it up here, I have lights that illuminate when I'm getting closer to shifting, which is kind of something that you really only see in race cars. Overall, the interior of the BMW M3 is a wonderful place to sit. No, it's not as luxurious as a bunch of other cars, but that's not what it's designed for. It's not a 7 Series, it's a 3 Series at the end of the day. And it does a good job of mixing the sporty nature of the M car with the practicality of every other BMW. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video on this E90 M3. If you did, make sure to smash that like button. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well. We'll see you next time.